3 million so-called Epstein files have been released in the United States. The Department of Justice reported the job is done, all materials are now public. But Congress is skeptical and is demanding more. The released materials have already caused a tsunami effect. Even a mention in the Epstein case destroys reputations and careers. The declassified files feature former and current US presidents, royalty, politicians, businessmen, and show business stars. All of them took part in Jeffrey Epstein's eccentric parties, where the entertainment was sex, including with minors. TSN's own correspondent in the USA, Olha Koshelenko, reports on whose lives have already been destroyed by their involvement in the pedophile case and whether the current US president will survive this.
A mention in Epstein's files is like a black mark that famous and influential people receive from their past. It has already cost former British Prince Andrew, the brother of King Charles, his title and privileges. In the new batch of files, there are again photographs of him with an unknown woman, both clothed, but on the floor under circumstances that remain unclear. After the latest publication of the files, Miroslav Lajčák, advisor to Slovak Prime Minister Fico, resigned. In his correspondence with Epstein, he was choosing a girl for games. Billionaire Elon Musk also had to offer explanations. The case materials include an email in which he asks when the next wild party on Epstein's island will be. Although so far there is no evidence that the billionaire actually visited the island. After the publication, the former Trump associate made a post on X with explanations.
I corresponded very little with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to visit his island or fly on the Lolita Express, but I was well aware that my correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by ill-wishers to tarnish my name. I don't care about that. What concerns me is that we at least try to hold accountable those who committed serious crimes together with Epstein, especially regarding the horrific exploitation of underage girls.
Of all the Epstein files processed so far, it is the reputation of former US President Bill Clinton from the American elite that has suffered the most. The case materials include a photo of him in a women's dress and high heels, not to mention numerous pictures with Epstein himself. The former president and his wife have ultimately agreed to testify soon before the House of Representatives Rules Committee, which is conducting its own investigation. The reputation of Microsoft founder Bill Gates has also suffered. Epstein's notes contain an entry claiming that Gates contracted a venereal disease from Russian women present at a party and allegedly asked Epstein for an antibiotic that could be secretly mixed into the food of Gates's then-wife Melinda to conceal a possible infection. There is no evidence. Gates himself has called this nonsense. It is precisely these kinds of salacious facts about other guests at Epstein's parties that President Donald Trump uses. He says that he recognized Epstein as a pedophile and pervert long ago, and therefore kicked him out of his circle, unlike other famous people.
There are a lot of questions about Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and many other people in this regard, but as for me, there's nothing there. Moreover, it turned out that Jeffrey Epstein and that sleazy writer named Michael Wolff conspired against Donald Trump to make me lose the election. Epstein conspired with the writer to make me lose the election. So you see, I had nothing to do with that guy.
The case materials contain numerous photos and videos of Trump with Epstein, as well as with women who attended the parties. They even included a birthday card from Trump to Epstein in the case materials. It is made in the shape of a naked woman's body. In the latest batch of files, there is also a letter from First Lady Melania Trump to Epstein's associate and friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was involved in supplying girls, including minors, for entertainment on the island. In the letter, Melania speaks very warmly about the press coverage regarding Epstein and expresses hope for a meeting soon.
Everyone who was in any way connected to Epstein has suffered ruin and burned out. The question is President Trump the only one who can survive this? And that's a fascinating question because there is nothing positive contained in these files. There is not a single positive aspect or reaction when people are associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Most people run from it like vampires at sunrise.
The Epstein files were released by the Trump-controlled Department of Justice only after Congress voted for it. The volume of materials is enormous. Not all of the files contain proven facts. Many are simply testimonies from various people that require thorough verification, which is exactly what hundreds of journalists and analysts are working on right now. But Democrats in the Senate doubt that the Department of Justice has released all the necessary information.
They say they've collected 6 million pages but are only publishing 3. What happened to the other 3 million? What's in them? And finally, has every document that mentions the word Trump been made public? Yes or no? We need answers.
Jeffrey Epstein was not a simple pimp, but rather a successful financier with a deep interest in politics, who had connections at various levels in different parts of the world and collected dossiers on famous people. Journalists also suggest that he had contacts with intelligence agencies, including Russian and Israeli ones. His figure is still shrouded in myths. Some even baselessly speculate that Epstein did not commit suicide in prison, but is secretly living somewhere on an island. From Washington, United States, Olha Koshelenko, Maxim Shinkarenko, TSN 1+1 Marathon, United News.
Yes, as you can see, Putin is losing partners, in fact allies on all fronts. But there is one president far across the ocean in the Oval Office who, strangely enough, often supports Putin. He even put up a photo with Putin where they're in Alaska, right in his Oval Office, above the picture of himself with his granddaughter. How is that even possible? Where does this friendship come from? But that's a topic for another conversation. Now you'll find out the details. And now, friends, it's time for our regular segment, but why? So why does Trump so often really support Putin?
Because. Just because. Oh.
No. Rumor has it there's a much more specific answer here. Here it is. So,
Putin might have some serious compromising material on Trump at his disposal. A high-profile investigation by Politico is shaking up the information space.
Yes, this is a very interesting and important topic. Well, let's start with this deadly little archive.
They collected compromising material on Trump during his visit to Moscow, like how he was having fun with prostitutes in a Moscow hotel. Is that true? Have you seen these files, the videos?
Trump arrived and immediately ran off to meet with Moscow prostitutes. This is a man who spent many years organizing beauty pageants, interacting with the most beautiful women in the world. It's hard for me to imagine that he would rush to a hotel to meet with our ladies of reduced social responsibility.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, this kind of information appeared as far back as 9 years ago. So a long time ago. November 11th, 2017. Russian intelligence agencies collected compromising material on Trump but did not use it. And now comes the most interesting part. This is Jeffrey Epstein, an American financier and officially registered sex offender. In 2019, he was found dead in prison during a trial over the creation of a prostitution ring involving underage girls. The photos allegedly also feature the president, that very same Donald Trump. There is actually a lot of material involving the current occupant of the Oval Office. But right now, you know, we're not talking about Trump's moral character, but rather whether the Kremlin might have something on him. Some compromising material that keeps Trump on a short leash in front of Putin. Just listen to this.
A year before his mysterious death, Epstein tried to reach out directly to the Russian Foreign Ministry and pass information about Donald Trump to Lavrov and Putin. This came to light after the Democrats in the US released his correspondence.
Interesting, isn't it? And somehow it all looks a little too plausible. Let's dig a little deeper. In
his letters, Epstein asked the former Secretary General of the Council of Europe to convey his proposal to Putin and referred to Vitaly Churkin, the former Russian ambassador to the UN. At the same time, the Democrats claimed that Trump knew exactly who he was, who Epstein is, and who has visited his home. The White House is trying to shut everything down at the root, but the scandal over Trump's possible ties to Russia is flaring up again.
But, you know, there's another theory about why Trump is so fond of Russia. This is some real surveillance. Barron Trump, the only son shared by US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania, has a Russian girlfriend who lives in London. This became known during a recent court session in London, where the Russian acquaintance, 22-year-old Matvey Rumyantsev, was found guilty of assaulting her. Barron Trump, Donald's son, as it turned out, called the police asking them to send a squad to save her. Well, friends, you see, in any case, cherchez la femme, but this is the Trump family we're talking about. Write in the comments what you think about this.